All right, everyone, welcome to the week 3 featured matchup. I am your host, Ali hipsterbrownkid Sheikh, and with me here today is Jacob Jookeb Rich. How are we doing today, Jacob?
I am great. I am very excited to get into this match. I think it's going to be a really interesting one, a really fun one, and I'm just kind of excited to see maybe some new pieces that we haven't seen out of these two just yet.
Oh, for sure. I think we see the both teams brought their big bears.
That is true. That is true. And I guess we can kind of get right into it then. Coming from the Chapel Hill Hawluchas side for this match today, we have the Blood Moon Ursaluna, the Grimmsnarl, the Caesar, Gastrodon, Slow King, and that's a slow bro, excuse me, and Hippopotas. And coming from the Memphis Machamps side, we have the Urshifu Rapid Strike, the Cresselia, the Cleavor, the Alolan Ninetales, the Revavroom, and the ever oppressive Stantler, as we saw last season. Now, Ali, I wanted to ask you before we kind of get into this match, how are you feeling about this Memphis Machamps team? Because to me, it's got a couple different modes it kind of looks like it could be going for. So, what are you feeling about it?
So to me, it just looks kind of like really bulky. It wants to get set up that Ninetales is going to set up its screens so that the more fragile pieces, like the Ninetales itself and the Urshifu, can kind of sit there safely. We've got that Intimidate user with an Eviolite, so it's going to be real hard to get rid of. But I like what I'm seeing.
That's very fair. I kind of think to the point that you made about the screens coming from the Ninetales there, Chapel Hill has actually brought their own potential screen user in the Grimmsnarl there. And I think that could also be a really interesting angle, kind of coming back at the Memphis Machamps. Set up their own screens, get their own defensive options up. And, I mean, Blood Moon Ursaluna, that thing just hits hard. So, I mean, I'm really liking that angle as well from the Chapel Hill Hawluchas. I think they have, kind of a really good looking team for this one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, both teams love their bears. They hit real hard. It's going to be
True.
kind of like an exchange of terras to see which bear can get rid of the others because just on
Mm-hmm.
paper, Urshifu Rapid Strike really likes that type matchup.
It does. It does. You are definitely right about that. But I do kind of think you were really right, actually, about the Terras. It's going to come down to, who has to Terra first and who Terras what and what potential angles we can see coming out of here. And, well, also actually talking about the Urshifu, I just re looked at the team. Gastrodon could be a real problem for that Urshifu, with the Storm Drain ability.
That is true. Looks like it's just going to sit there and be able to protect that Ursaluna. It's real afraid of a freeze dry, but we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens.
All right. And with that, are we ready to get into the game?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right. Looks like we are loading into team preview.
Uh, just in time. That is perfect. That is perfect. We love to see that. I think for game one, I personally am really looking for the Chapel Hill Hawluchas to just kind of feel out their opponent here. Really just maybe lead something like the Ursaluna and Caesar and just lead some really strong pressure. Maybe that's just my personal bias, but I think if they lead some really strong pressure, they can look pretty good in this first game.
Yeah, that is true. If they can just be, they can just deny that opportunity to set up or bulk up or screen up. That really just puts a dent in Memphis's game plans. Caesar
Yeah.
looks like it has a really good type matchup into that Ninetales, that Cleavor, and that Cresselia.
Hmm. Yeah, and I was really thinking, like you had said, I was really thinking about the screen denial being kind of the big thing there. But it looks like the teams have been selected, and we are just about to get into this game one. And boy, am I excited for it! And here are the player cards coming right up. Ooh, was that a shiny Roaring Moon in that player card?
We know
Looked like
Parker, and he loves his shinies.
he does love his shinies. And speaking of, there are some shinies on the field right now as the Memphis Machamps lead the Urshifu and Cleavor, and the Chapel Hill Hawluchas come out with the Grimmsnarl and Hippopotas for this matchup.
Yeah, we can see a little bit into those move sets. Grimmsnarl, pretty standard set of screen supporting moves, and play rough, which is interesting over Spirit Break.
Yeah. It's not something we normally see, but maybe it's a good look for them if they want to go for it. As we see the Grimmsnarl go for a Thunder Wave to get some speed control onto that Urshifu, as the Cleavor in return goes for a Stone Axe onto the Grimmsnarl for a pretty good chunk of damage, but it's not really that much. It gets a good above half. As the Urshifu is actually full parried this turn, while the Hippopotas goes for a Yawn onto the Cleavor.
Yeah, so Chapel Hill's getting that status up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Memphis is set rocks, so it's going to be hard to pivot around these pieces without taking some chip damage for it. Very uncommon in doubles play, so it's a very difficult thing to be prepared for.
Yeah, I agree. Not something we normally see, and not something we normally have to play against. As the Grimmsnarl goes for a reflect setup, and the Cleavor goes for an X Scissor into the Hippopotas, doing a decent chunk of damage. But the Urshifu is full parried once again, as the Chapel Hill Hawluchas actually set up stones of their own. Now, this is interesting.
What is this singles play that I'm watching?
I'll be honest, I am here for it. And the Cleaver is, of course, going to fall asleep there. But I mean, good lord, what a great start to this series already. I am loving this.
Yeah, Chapel Hill looks like they're exactly where they want to be. The Urshifu hasn't been able to move at all. Grimmsnarl's sitting up for free. Hippopotas is sitting there being a menace.
Hmm. And as you rightly said, Grimmsnarl does get to set up its other screen, the light screen, as the Cleavor is asleep, and the Urshifu actually gets to move this time. It does get a Surging Strikes into the Hippopotas, and even with that chunk that it took before, that was still 3 hits to KO that Hippopotas. That is probably a really, really bulky little mon there.
Yeah, my guess is just that full defense. It could be full HP. With that Eviolite, just makes these little baby Pokemon incredibly bulky.
It does. It does. It does. Not to mention the screens that Grimmsnarl was able to set up and help out the team with as well. As we do see the Caesar coming out for the Chapel Hill Hawluchas after that unfortunate feint on the Hippopotas. But, that's the name of the game. I still think Chapel Hill is in a fairly decent spot here, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, Caesar gets to come out pretty safely,
Oh,
unless I said something.
yeah, unfortunately, it does look like that Urshifu is faster. It does get to the Surging Strikes into the Caesar as it goes for a dual wing beat onto the Urshifu, and it lands both hits. So that is a KO onto the Urshifu Rapid Strike. I mean, honestly, not a bad turn. Caesar survives, and you get a free KO, I would say. As the Grimmsnarl goes for a play rough onto the Cleavor, it's a decent chunk of damage. It's not all that much, but we definitely take it on the side of Chapel Hill.
Yeah, I mean, Caesar taking a little bit too much damage than a little bit too much more damage than it wanted to with that rock chip, the life orb chip, and living that surging strikes just barely behind screen.
Mhm.
We see it's a life orb set instead of a choice band, which offers some good move versatility.
Yeah, and as you rightly said, we do see the move versatility coming in handy as the Caesar is able to swap over to the bullet punch instead of being choice banded in, and it does get to pick up the KO onto the Cleavor as the Grimmsnarl goes for another Thunderwave onto Cresselia, and it's another para for Memphis. Oh no, you hate to see it.
They're just not letting him move.
Oh no, man. I mean, this is just singles play at its finest, I would say. This is quite a series already, and it's just game one. As we do see the Ninetales come out, gets a little bit of stone damage, and it does set up that snow.
Yeah, even with that snow defense boost, it's gonna have to Terra if it doesn't want to get one shot by that Caesar.
That is very true. But do we see another Thunderwave coming out into the Ninetales potentially? I mean, if that is the case, that would be, potentially the real nail in the coffin. Because if you keep having that unfortunate luck, then you really hate to see it. But we do just see another bullet punch come out into the Ninetales. As you rightly said, the type matchup coming in huge in that scenario. That is a 4 times effective move, and it is enough to take out the KO there. As we do see the Life Orb recoil take out the Caesar and a play rough go into the Cresselia, but it's an unfortunate miss as a Lunar Blessing comes out and is enough to heal up that Cresselia and cure the paralysis.
Now, Cresselia is pretty specially bulky.
Hmm.
Uh, does this Ursaluna have the damage to get through its own recovery?
That is the big question. I believe this is also a leftovers Ursaluna set. So we could potentially see just a real stall out. And I mean, that's just going to reinforce the whole singles play that we've been seeing this whole set, or this whole game one, I mean.
If I see more than like 3 more turns of this game, I'm turning it off. I
I
did
guess I'll be
not
solo
sign up for
casting.
singles play.
Well, we do see, ooh, it's actually a double Terra turn, as we do see the Terra Electric come out onto the Cresselia and the Terra Ghost come out onto the Ursaluna. Importantly, I believe this means that the Thunder Wave does not affect Cresselia anymore. So that is a huge thing. As we do see the Thunder Wave go in, and like I just said, it unfortunately does not work on that anymore. As a Moon Blast goes into the Grimmsnarl from the Cresselia, which is enough to take out the KO, and we get to see the Ursaluna's famous Blood Moon go into Cresselia. Ooh, that's a lot more damage than I was expecting, honestly.
Yeah, Ursaluna likes to hit hard no matter which form it is. And this electric tear is actually huge here, getting rid of any type weaknesses, covering
Mm-hmm.
for any coverage move this Ursaluna could have.
Yeah. I mean, the Terra Electric plus Levitate combination is it's a tough one to get around. I mean, it has virtually no weaknesses. I mean, it's really annoying to say the very least. Oh, and we do see the Moonblast coming out of the Cresselia into the Ursaluna, and it does not a lot of damage. As unfortunately, we see the Earth Power coming out of the Ursaluna into the Levitate Cresselia. I think the nerves might be getting to Chapel Hill just a little bit here.
Yeah, that Moonblast doing basically 0 damage.
Hmm.
There's this Ursaluna is especially bulky, but
Oh yeah.
also we saw it do 50% on a Blood Moon hit.
Yeah, it's a real wonder how Ursaluna works, huh? And I mean, it's just I don't know. Especially with the whole calm mindset that this Ursaluna is running and being able to bulk itself up even more specially against this Cresselia. I mean, Chapel Hill's definitely in a good spot, and I think they just need to click a couple more Blood Moons, and this game is just about over. I'll be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and it
Uh,
looks like the Cresselia goes for a protect, just taking it easy, going for a little bit more stall out here, as the Blood Moon does just unfortunately go into that protect.
yeah, I
Mm,
think if the Ninetales was able to get up its Aurora Veil, Cresselia might have more of a chance here. Because the
yeah.
Ursaluna is still behind light screen. No, it's
Oh,
not.
it just wore off. It just wore off. But I do think you rightly called it. If the Ninetales had definitely been able to get up its screens, this could be a totally different game. And that could just come down to trying to preserve it and work around the Caesar as best they can in potential or in the game too. Excuse me.
Yeah, you really need that strong, like, physical, super effective move before that Cresselia tears.
Yeah, that is very true.
I don't know if we saw bug coverage on the Caesar.
I don't believe we did. I thought we saw two flying moves, bullet punch and a protect, if I'm not wrong.
I don't know about two flying moves. I saw at least one.
Yeah. It was definitely dual wing beat and bullet punch. But anyway, we'll probably see more of the Caesar in game two. Let's get back to game one here. As we are
I
just
don't
seeing
think
the
I want
Ursaluna.
to.
Are you not having fun with the singles play? Come on, man.
No, it's literally 1v1. They're stalling each other out. There's the
They are.
protect to block the Blood Moon.
Yeah, they are. You're right.
Rocks are down.
Yup. Yup.
Ooh,
Uh
that's a bait though. There's a vacuum wave into the protect,
oh,
which
it
means
was. You're
Blood Moon is
right.
open.
Blood Moon is open, and unless the Cresselia does get a double protect here, I think Chapel Hill, because they boosted up quite a bit as well, this will do a ton of damage. As we do just see the Psychic go back into the Ursaluna, it does nothing with the special defense boost, and we see the Blood Moon come out, and that is enough to end game one. Finally, no more singles play, at least for the time being.
No more singles play.
All right, so Ali, how are you feeling about Memphis's overall game plan in game one, and what do you think they should adjust for in game two?
So they I think they just got unlucky. It seems like they had a game plan, but there were three paralysis procs asleep. It was it was unlucky, but they brought it down to the wire.
They did. They did. They kept it very, very close, which was a little surprising, I guess, considering the amount of unluck that they had throughout the entirety of that game. Um, but I mean, I do you think there's a potential Mon switch that they could do, or do you think it's just swap some pieces around with the same core unit and then maybe try and get up screens or something like that?
So I do think opening up with the Ninetales could be big. Just get those screens up early. Whether it's light clay to keep the screens up for longer for that Cresselia endgame, or if it's focus sash just to guarantee it goes up.
Okay.
Because the rocks kind of ruin that plan, and so does a bullet punch from a Caesar.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely does. Yeah, the rocks really threw an interesting angle into this whole game one. I mean, it was very stall oriented at the end, and it was it was a little bit sleepy, we'll say. But I don't know, the Rocks actually came in a lot more clutch than I thought they would. And I don't know, it's just how do you set up Rocks consistently if you aren't Cleavor, right? It's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, getting that stone axe and just getting the rocks for free
Mm-hmm.
is a nice introduction of hazards into doubles play. But 99% of Pokemon in BGC aren't running boots. They're not running rapid spin. They're not running defog.
No, those are borderline useless moves in VGC. Also, I want to give a special shout out to Hisui and Samurott for doing the same thing with what is it? I mean, it's evading me at the moment.
Ceaseless
Spikes?
Edge is the
Yes,
move
Ceaseless
setting
Edge. Yeah.
spikes.
Yeah. Yeah, special shout out to Hisui and Samurott. Hasn't been drafted. I hope it comes around one day. Who knows? Maybe I'll get it. I don't know. I think it's cool though.
Season's still wide open.
It is still wide open. We could do a whole lot.
Yeah, it does look like the rocks are a lot more effective into Memphis's team. Just having those weaknesses to rock in the Cleavor and the Ninetales, because they're taking, what is it, 25% their HP
Yes.
when they come in.
Yes.
It's weirdly enough, rock does not resist rock.
No, no, it does not. You know, as much as you think it would, but also rocks can break rocks, so maybe it makes sense. I
Maybe.
don't know.
Depends on the
Pokemon
rock.
logic is weird. Pokemon logic is weird.
Yeah, I mean, Chapel Hill has 3 rock resists, so they're not too worried about him.
No, not really. But I think to Chapel Hill's credit, it was a really good adjustment to bring the stealth rocks on the Hippopotas and, you know, kind of realize that it could be a really good angle for them to play for.
Yeah, just being able to punish a lot of that pivoting that comes in doubles play.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see a whole bunch of it here. I think it's just because Chapel Hill was in the position they wanted to be and Memphis was stuck.
Yes, they were stuck, unfortunately. But sometimes that's just how Pokemon goes, you know? Sometimes you just don't get the right lead and you just have to try and find your angle out of it, and sometimes there is no angle out of it.
Yeah, I think they just need a way to safely get in this Urshifu.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Rivalry could be a good option to get rid of the Grimmsnarl early, having double super
Oh,
effective stabs into it.
yeah. That's also a very good angle. That's and I've also messed around with Rev of Room just a little bit. It hits a lot harder than you would think, honestly.
It does. Yeah.
It does.
It's very reminiscent of Kling Klang for me. Just not having a lot of
Ah.
that coverage, but it has decent stats.
Mm-hmm.
And that filter ability is pretty good for having that 4 times weakness, but reducing the damage on any super effective hits.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a real nice one to have. Also, special shout out to Kling Klang. Please, Poco, give that Mon some moves that can actually hit, or just moves in general, because it just doesn't have any moves. Please, Poco.
Give me a 4th evolution. Give me Kling Klang too.
Okay, if the next game goes into a stall fest, we have to try and think of a new Kling Klang evolution and like what its name
Okay.
is. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. If it goes into stall. If.
If Jacob
We
doesn't
will
want to
see
let
what
me
happens.
theory craft.
I'm not going to stop you from theory crafting, but we do have to focus on the game here. Come on, we have a job.
We do. Let's see how they're doing. Uh,
Looks like they might be potentially ready.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, we skipped a little too far.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. That's my theory crafting ruining our cast, but it's fine. We see the Stantler out here
Mm-hmm.
getting
And
that
it does.
intimidate against these
Yes,
two physical attackers.
exactly. That is exactly where it wants to be against the Caesar and Grimmsnarl lead. Also the Cresselia out there for the Memphis Machamps. Um, so the Stantler being brought in, that's a very interesting adjustment as we do see the light screen coming up for the Grimmsnarl there. And the Cresselia is moving next with a Moonblast. And that's actually a critical Moonblast into that Grimmsnarl, doing a huge chunk of damage as we see a Reflect coming up from the Stantler, preventing even more physical damage. But the Scizor is going for a kind of greedy sword stance, and I mean, it definitely paid off though.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it greedy. Uh,
Oh,
it doesn't seem to be under any threat here.
oh, that's true. That's true.
It
Because the
resists
Cresselia,
the attacking moves from Cresselia.
exactly, exactly.
I
Oh,
doubt Stantler gets anything fire based.
it probably does not, but it does get a Thunder Wave that it just tried to use into Scizor, as the Caesar does avoid that move, and it goes for a brick break into the Stantler, also breaking that Reflect. But Stantler holds on with what has to be 5 HP at the most. That is a crazy live.
The invisible focus sash.
The invisible focus sash is coming in clutch here for the Memphis Machamps. Oh, baby. As we see the Caesar go for a bullet punch onto the Stantler, that's definitely enough to take the KO with that priority move. Just able to secure it right away as the Grimmsnarl goes for a Thunder Wave onto the Cresselia, really looking to try and get the para hacks that they got in game one. And unfortunately, it looks like they are getting the same para hacks. Ali, I need you to tell me the name of the new Kling Klang in like 5 more turns because I think it's going to go to stall.
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, we saw the Caesar's moveset, or at least
Mm,
remember it now, that
true.
has the brick break instead of a bug type move.
Yeah. But it's turned out to be really great coverage. And here's the Rev of Room like you wanted to see, but unfortunately, he didn't lead it in this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, it's. No, it's not behind screens anymore, but
It
I
is
think it
not because of that brick
resists
break.
just about all the damage that's gonna come out here.
Mm-hmm.
So it may get to go for like that shift gear.
Oh, it definitely could. As a Thunder Wave from the Grimmsnarl goes into Rev of Room, it unfortunately misses. As the Rev of Room goes for a Poison Gas, which is enough to poison the Grimmsnarl, but it definitely doesn't work on the Caesar. As Caesar goes for a dual wing beat into the Cresselia, dealing a fair chunk of damage. But unfortunately for Chapel Hill, the Lunar Blessing is coming out of the Cresselia. It is not paralyzed. In fact, it is cured of Bits paralysis, and it gets a little extra healing from the leftovers. It's basically back to full HP.
Yeah, the poison gas is an interesting tech here. I thought it would, when it was coming out, I thought it would be the corrosion poison gas so we could hit it on the Caesar, but I guess he is running filter.
Yeah, it would appear so. I'm not really sure of the idea behind the tech, but maybe we'll see a couple more things as the Cresselia goes for a protect and the Grimmsnarl goes for a Thunder Wave onto the Rev of Room, and it does actually connect this time. We will see if that does matter. The speed drop definitely matters as the Caesar is able to get ahead and go for a Swords Dance, but that is a high horsepower from the Rev of Room into Caesar, dealing about 50%.
Yeah, I think they got different levels of screens here. Seems to me that Chapel Hill Reflect is doing a lot more than the Memphis Reflect did.
But the well, Okay, then the Memphis Reflect did, but it was all for only what, one turn because of the brick break, so that's
Fair.
a little unfair. Oh well, it's
I
fine.
just meant in terms of damage reduction.
That's very fair. That's very fair. That is another Thunder Wave coming out from the Grimmsnarl into Cresselia. It's once again repoisoned. As a Brick Break comes out from the Caesar into that Reviv it's not enough for a one-hit KO, but it was a large chunk of damage as another high horsepower comes out into the Caesar, dealing about another 25%. And Cresselia once again goes for a Lunar Blessing, healing both the allies and curing them both of their paralysis. As the Grimmsnarl does importantly go down to poison this turn, that should be a big opening for Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, now no more paralysis shenanigans. The Lunar Blessing hit, got to do what it needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Very unorthodox way of getting rid of the Grimmsnarl, but whatever works, works.
That's very true. And so far, it is working fairly well. The Cresselia is still there and able to heal. The Revivroom's doing decent enough damage, I would say. It hasn't been an issue for Memphis or anything. As we do see the Terra coming out onto the Revivroom, going for a Terra flying Revivroom.
That's the balloon car, baby.
That is the balloon car. And we do see it going for a Terra Blast onto the Caesar. Oh, but unfortunately, it's not enough to take out the KO as a Psychic coming out of the Cresselia goes into the Ursaluna. And once again, it's pretty paltry damage as the Caesar goes for another dual wing beat into the Cresselia and now faints to its own Life Orb chip.
Going
It's
down
now
on his own terms.
on his own terms, but it's also down to a 2v3 for Chapel Hill. This is looking just a little bit spooky for them in this game too, I would say.
True. Yeah, I mean, getting that Terra nullifying the Ursaluna for a turn and
Yeah.
Riverroom should be the fastest thing on this field right now, so it can at least get off one more hit before it goes down.
Yeah. It should definitely be able to, but I guess it's just a matter of what it's wanting to swing into next. And also, does Chapel Hill value taking out the Cresselia at this point to prevent any more Lunar Blessings coming out? Because I think that is a really huge deal. As we do see the Riverroom going for a spin out into the Ursaluna, which does a fairly decent chunk as it lowers its own speed. And once again, we see the Cresselia going for some more Lunar Blessings, some more healing for the team in itself. As the Blood Moon comes out of the Ursaluna, and of course, that thing hits like a freight train. Of course, it's enough to take out the Revivroom. Why wouldn't it be? Oh man, that Pokemon is so disgusting, I swear. And
We love
Gastrodon,
our bears.
we love our bears, but Lord, is it hard to play against them? Oh, and next turn we're gonna see a Sleepy Cresselia.
Yeah, I mean, if this is the Urshifu coming in last from Memphis, it's probably their best offensive option, but
Mm-hmm.
this Gastrodon's preventing the surging strikes, and threat of the Terra Ghost is preventing that close combat.
Yeah, it does seem that Chapel Hill might be set up for about the perfect end game. Maybe the most perfect end game they could have asked for in this scenario. I mean, they've just kind of played this series out beautifully, and while it's been close, I think almost all of Chapel Hill's games have been close this season. So they're just, they're keeping it on brand, is what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, if they can get rid of the Gastrodon this turn, I think Memphis has it. Because we don't
That
see
is
a
very true.
protect on Gastrodon.
That's very, very true. Very good point there. If they double with like a psychic and a close combat into that Gastrodon, it could definitely be enough to take it out. But as you rightly called before, the Terra Ghost on the Ursaluna, which will prevent that close combat and any super effective damage going onto it, even from the surging strikes. Um, but we do see the Ursaluna, or the Urshifu, excuse me, going for a close combat onto the Gastrodon, and it does a little bit less than 50%, which is not what you want to see. As the Cresselia goes for a Psychic into the Ursaluna, which I don't exactly agree with, but hey, that's okay. We do see the Calm Mind coming out of the Ursaluna, bulking it up even more, and finally, the Gastrodon gets to go ahead and throw a Yawn out onto the Urshifu.
Yeah, I I think that Calm Mind was kind of free, knowing its defensive options,
Yeah.
but yeah, they didn't get rid of the Gastrodon. That Reflect did so much work there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also not having the Psychic going into the Gastrodon, it probably wouldn't have KO'd looking back at it. But you maybe you hope for a crit or something like that. As we do
Like that.
see another, well, it is Urshifu, but another close combat going into the Gastrodon. It's more than enough to take it out. As the Rocky Helmet chip does come back onto the Urshifu just a little bit there, and of course, Sleepy Cresselia, it's not going to be doing much this turn, as we do see the Blood Moon coming out of the Ursaluna into the Urshifu, and with the previous Rocky Helmet chip, the Blood Moon is enough to take it out, and this looks like a very dire end game for Memphis Machamps.
Yeah, Cresselia needs to wake up, see if it can try and chip through with Psychic Spadef drops.
True. Yeah, hoping for Spadef drops and potential crits, and that's all you can really hope for. As unfortunately, we do see the Cresselia is still asleep for another turn, getting to or having to heal up just a little bit more with leftovers. Um, it's going to be a slow end game. Have you thought of that name for the Kling Klang evolution?
Uh, Kling Klang Klong?
Oh, and it's got an extra gear on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. I like it. As we do see the Blood Moon coming out into the Cresselia, that was perfectly timed, Ollie. You got it in just at the end of the game there. All right, we did it.
We did it.
We did
We
it. But
are back.
we we're so back. But congrats to the Chapel Hill Hawluchas for winning that game. They did it in their classic fashion of keeping it down to about one mana game. It seems like every time they play now, they have to bring the differential down to one per game. I don't know why, but they're just doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you get to try out some stuff. I'm the famous game 2 enter. Try out something, doesn't work. I might lose off of it, but it's early season.
That's true. And as we say in the league, FAFO, you
Yep.
know, if you know, you know.
If you
Um,
know, you know.
but I mean, that was a pretty good series. I'm glad game two was not as singles play as game one, but I think both showcased some fairly interesting tech, we could say. Seeing the Stealth Rocks coming out, seeing the Calm Mind Ursaluna set, which I think we've all known can be very deadly. We just haven't, maybe some of us have seen it more than others. But I mean, it really showed up this series. So big Bears, man. What can you do?
It's the Bears, baby.
The Bears, the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, seeing that priority vacuum wave as well, just
Yeah,
having a heavy special attacker with a priority move is real scary,
it's really scary.
especially when that thing wants 0 speed investment, so it's just bulk and damage.
Yup. it's really not fun to look at or think about. Like, it's just so scary. Imagine that thing with Terra fighting too. So it's double stab.
I would like to not imagine that, actually.
I probably shouldn't be giving him ideas, honestly. So, John, don't listen to this one, please.
I'll cut it out of the video.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. That'll save it.
But yeah, very well played from both these players. Down to the wire every time. Some lucky crits, some unlucky sleeps, unlucky paraprocs.
Yeah.
Really good tech from both sides. Like you said, the rocks were there, the comm mine was there, the screens on the Stantler.
True.
That little horse is full of surprises.
What isn't a horse to you, man?
Listen, it's the trifecta. It's either a dog, a cat, or a horse. And Stantler is not very dog-like, not very cat-like. So therefore, it is a horse.
Okay. Giraffarig is what?
Giraffarig is a horse.
Farigaraff is a what?
Farigaraff is a dog.
It's a dog?
Yeah, it's not a cat, and it can't be a horse because Giraffarig is a horse.
Wow. You know?
Chat, work with me on this.
I guess you're right. I guess you're right. No, I agree with you. Sorry, your infinite wisdom has broken my brain here. That logic is flawless.
Straight from the mind to Nashville, baby. Stay tuned for more.
Oh my goodness. This is... I was actually going to rat you out because I was going to say that is the power of Probopass, but that was actually Gary from the Pittsburgh Probopass that drafted that.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen the draft video, once you get to like round 4, don't worry about the rest of it. I had a sub coach sub in for me to draft.
Yeah.
It totally wasn't my own fault.
We love Gary around here.
We love Gary. But yeah, I think we got a little bit of everything in here. We got a fun series. I got to make fun of singles players, which you'll probably notice I do in literally every video I'm speaking in. I'm gonna get fired for it eventually.
Nah, we disparage singles players.
True. Come to the light side. VGC is where it's at. You get quality content like this.
True.
But with that, any final thoughts, Jacob?
My final thought is I am still scared to play any and every team that I watch because they just keep coming. People just keep coming up with new and really interesting things that I do not think about, and then it makes me scared that they're gonna whip these new and interesting things out on me, and then I'm gonna lose, and it's gonna suck. Yeah. But it's okay because right now we're doing okay. We've got a good look at playoffs. Hopefully, we'll keep it up throughout the season.
Yeah, that's the magic of a new game, a new gen, a new draft league season. But yeah, we've taken up quite a bit of time. So join us next week for the next featured match, which is something, I believe.
It is definitely something. You are not wrong there.
There will be a game. There will be 2 teams playing that game.
That is true.
There will be people talking about the game.
And boy, will they be talking about that game.
Well, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell, check out linked Twitch channels, etc., etc. Good night.